Okay, so tell me how mind reading works.
So I used to have this girlfriend, and she, on multiple instances, she believed that I was able to read her mind, right? But the way that I would explain that is by saying, you know, like somebody's thinking something, and you're perceiving what they're thinking, and now you're thinking what they're thinking because you read their mind, right? But the other possibility is that maybe you are thinking something and you are implanting those thoughts into the other person's head, and now because they're thinking it, they think that you're reading their mind, right? So it's it's funny the way it works, because it's kind of like does one cause the other, or does the other cause the one? So the way that we could think about this is it's like 4 different models. The normal way to think about this is A causes B, right? So let's say my finger is A, and my finger comes into contact, applies force, and moves the object. That's A causes B, right? And that's what people think about the most. But the other possibility is that maybe B causes A, and you're wondering, okay, so how would B cause A? And the way that would work is that, let's say that in nature, all inanimate objects move on their own, right? But before any inanimate object moves on its own, it attracts, by way of psychology, by way of physics, it attracts an agent to make contact with it and cooperate with its movement, right? So it's not that A caused B to move, it's that the movement of B caused A to make contact with it and be in coordination with it, right? So that's B causes A. Another possibility could be C. There's an outside force or an outside influence that causes A and B to work together, to move together. So this outside influence, you could call it God, you could call it the universe, you could call it destiny. And this thing just happens to make the world work in such a way that these things always happen together. You know, it's not that my finger causes this movement. It's not that the movement causes my finger to make contact with it. It just happens to work that way. A very good example of this would be in video games, where, you know, like, let's say in a video game you see a ball hit the wall, right? And the ball bounces off the wall. And you could say, oh, well, you know, it's the wall that stopped the ball and made it go in the other direction. Or it's the ball that broke the wall, or is the ball that, you know, like, made the wall shake, or made the wall move in that sort of way. Well, actually, there's no physics in video game. The video game just works like that because that's the way it was designed. And you can see proof of this because when there's a glitch in the design, there's no response, there's no appropriate response from the wall or the ball, right? The ball will just go through the wall, right? It's not that A causes B or that B causes A, it's just that things work like that. It's that C, there's some design, there's the design of the universe necessitates or causes things to work in that way just because they work that way. And the fourth possibility is not that A causes B, it's not that B causes A, and it's not that there's C that causes A and B to work like that. Things just work like that because they happen to work like that. So basically just coincidence. The reason that the world works the way it works and that we have the laws of physics the way they are is just a matter of coincidence, just because things happen to be consistent in this way. It's not really that there's any necessity, that there's any necessary laws of physics to the universe. It's just that things have been going on this way just by chance.
I thought about these things as I was growing up, right around high school age, but I didn't really have any basis to confirm whether these concerns I was having were really something legitimate or whether they were just some interesting thoughts I was having. When I got to college and started taking some breath classes, I actually did discover that this is a legitimate concept in philosophy and in physics. In physics and in science, even though causation is assumed for practicality's sake, one can never really prove where cause is. One can never really prove where cause is coming from or where it is going. You cannot put cause under a microscope and confirm its existence. That's because cause is a philosophical concept. It turns out that causal reasoning is more of a figment of our imagination that we use as a tool to make sense of the world that we see. And you will find that different species and even different cultures will have a different interpretation of what things cause what in the world. Let's not forget the all too common adage, correlation does not imply causation. We see things in the world happen, but it doesn't mean that one causes the other or that the other causes the one. It's important that when we see things in life that we consider all these possibilities.
Like that mind reading example that I give you, right? So my girlfriend she thought that I read her mind, right? And I couldn't really explain all of this to her at that time. It's not that she thought of something and I perceived it. That would be A causes B. Or it's not even that I thought of something and I implanted it into her mind. That would be B causes A. But maybe it could have been like C causes A and B, which would look like maybe we were both looking out at the sky, and the sky inspired me to think of heaven, and the sky inspired her to think of heaven. And then when I mentioned heaven, she thought I read her mind. Or like two people that have like similar upbringings, or they're familiar with similar things. You will think of the same thing. Or it could have been just coincidence. When you look at spiritual stuff, when you look at phenomena that happens in the world, stuff that, like you interpret superstitiously, it's very important to look at all those possibilities of where the cause is coming from. A really good example of this is a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you know what a self-fulfilling prophecy is, normally a person would think, oh, because I know this about the future, I can see the future, and because I know that the future is going to be bad, that's why I'm thinking this, and I'm sure that the future is going to be bad and it's going to happen that way. So that would be A, the future causes B, causes me to think this way. But somebody went along and said, maybe it's not A causes B, maybe it's B that causes A. Maybe it's your thinking that causes you to unfold that type of future for yourself. And that would be B causes A. Or another example is like, like when a girlfriend is nagging her boyfriend because he's angry, because she thinks he's angry. So is it that she's nagging her boyfriend because he's angry, or did he get angry because she was nagging at him because she thought he was angry? So did A cause B, or did B cause A? Or did C, maybe there's something in the air, maybe they ate something, or maybe something happened, maybe an event happened that made them both upset, and now she's nagging and now he's angry, and there was a C that caused A and B, Or, there's some people that think that media is corrupting our society. It's media is the cause. Media, A, is the cause for our moral decline, B. Or is it that B causes A? Is it our moral decline that's reflected in the media? Or another example would be like, imagine a person that's in a restaurant and they don't want to give a tip because they think that the waiter provided bad service. Now, is it the bad service of the waiter, A, that caused them to not want to give a tip, B? Or is it that they're stingy, B, that caused them to see that caused them to focus on the waiter's bad aspects? So now because I'm stingy, like I don't want to give them money, so I'm going to start focusing on the waiter's bad features. And so people use that as an excuse. People use that to justify not giving a tip. And you'll probably recognize this like from the waiter's perspective. Some customers that not only did they not give a tip, but they treated them like crap throughout their stay there. And yeah, so it might be that phenomena at play. Well, one last example would be a person that has anxiety issues, right? So is it that other people are giving you anxiety, or is it your own anxiety that makes other people look like a problem?
So when you see all these factors of possible causal relationship, how do you determine which one is true?
Being able to analyze things in this way, it's not about finding what's true and what's not true. It's more about considering more possibilities than what you see, right? It's not, you don't want to give yourself tunnel vision and say, okay, this one's true, and so ignore everything else. No, it's more like, I think this is true, but what else is there? I think that media is causing our moral decline as a society, but what other possibilities are there? I think it's more important and it's more practical to think of, to open your mind to other possibilities than it is to find something and fixate on that and ignore everything else that might be going on.